What's the closest you've ever been to losing your life? I never thought a late night drive home from work would nearly end my life and reveal the truth about the people closest to me. I'm Hannah, I'm 27, and if there's one thing you should know about me, it's that I've always been the responsible one. The one who stayed late at work to make sure everything was done. The one who covered shifts when people bailed. The one who showed up for family birthdays with the cake, even if no one remembered mine. That was me. Dependable, boring Hannah. At least, that's what everyone said. I lived in a small town where people left their doors unlocked and waved at neighbors on the street. But don't let the picture-perfect postcard fool you. Behind the small-town charm was a kind of loneliness that sank into your bones. My boyfriend, Mark, always said I worried too much. He worked odd jobs here and there, never really steady, but he had a charm that made people forgive him. Even my parents liked him more than they liked me sometimes. Funny, right? I had the job, the bills, the car, the savings, and Mark had, well, he had a smile. And somehow, that was enough for everyone else. Most nights, I didn't complain. I worked late at the local diner, my uniform smelling like fries and coffee, and drove home under the pale glow of street lamps. That night, though, the night everything started, it was one of those evenings where the air felt thicker, heavier. I couldn't put my finger on why, but when I walked out of the diner and stepped into the dark parking lot, I felt a shiver crawl up my spine. The lot was nearly empty, just my car and a couple of beat-up trucks. I pulled my jacket tighter around me and quickened my pace. That's when I noticed it, a dark SUV slowly rolling through the lot. The headlights washed over me for a second, and I froze like a deer caught in beams. The SUV didn't stop, didn't honk, didn't even speed up. It just circled, like it was waiting. I told myself not to be paranoid. This wasn't a movie, and I wasn't some heroine in danger. I slid into my car, locked the doors, and laughed nervously to myself. "Relax, Hannah," I whispered. "It's just someone looking for a spot." But deep down, I knew something was off. The way the engine purred low, the way it lingered longer than it should have. I started my car and pulled out, forcing myself not to look in the rearview mirror. But of course, I couldn't help it. The SUV's headlights appeared, sliding into the road behind me. At first, I thought it was a coincidence, but every turn I made, it followed. Every slowdown, every speed up, it matched. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tight, my knuckles turned white. When I finally turned onto the long stretch of road leading toward home, the SUV stayed on my tail, headlights glaring into my mirror like twin eyes burning holes into me. My chest tightened, and 1,000 thoughts raced through my head. Was it just a drunk driver, a neighbor heading home, or was I being followed? By the time I pulled into my driveway, my heart was hammering so hard I could hear it in my ears. The SUV didn't stop. It rolled right past, disappearing into the night. I sat there in my car, engine running, breath shaky. That should have been the end of it, right? Just a weird coincidence. But it wasn't. That was only the beginning. Because the next time I saw that SUV, it wouldn't just drive by. And this time, I wouldn't be so lucky. I barely slept that night. Every time I shut my eyes, I pictured those headlights in my rearview, burning into me. The sound of that low, steady engine echoed in my head. By morning, I tried to convince myself it was nothing, just some random driver. But deep down, my gut kept whispering, "No, Hannah, that wasn't random." The next day at work, I couldn't focus. I spilled coffee twice, forgot an order, and even my boss asked if I was okay. I lied and said I was fine. How do you explain to someone that you feel like you're being watched? That some faceless driver in a black SUV is haunting you? It sounded insane. When my shift ended, I lingered in the diner, stalling. The thought of walking out to that dark parking lot again made my stomach twist. Finally, I told myself I was being ridiculous, grabbed my keys, and pushed through the doors. The parking lot was empty. My car sat under the weak glow of the streetlight, nothing else around. I forced a laugh. See? Nothing to worry about. I walked faster, unlocked the car, and slid inside. But as soon as I shut the door, my eyes flicked to the rearview mirror, and I swear I saw movement at the far edge of the lot, a shape too big to be a person, just shifting in the shadows. I froze, my breath caught in my throat. My fingers hovered over the ignition. I told myself again, I was imagining it, just nerves. I started the engine, headlights cutting through the dark, and for a second I saw it, the gleam of metal, chrome, an SUV. My chest tightened like a vice. I threw the car into drive and peeled out of the lot faster than I should have. My tires squealed and my heart pounded against my ribs. In the rear view, nothing. The lot looked empty again. I drove through town, every nerve on edge, watching every intersection, every side street. For a few minutes it felt like I was in the clear. But then in the mirror, headlights appeared. Low, steady, too familiar. The black SUV. My throat went dry. My palms slick against the steering wheel. I turned left, sharp and fast, just to see if it was really following me. The SUV turned too. I turned again, a quick right. It followed. My breathing turned ragged. It wasn't a coincidence. Whoever was behind that wheel wanted me to know I wasn't safe. I pushed the gas harder, speeding down back roads I'd driven my whole life. The SUV matched me, never gaining, never losing ground, just hanging back like a predator toying with its prey. I wanted to call someone, but my phone sat buried at the bottom of my bag, and I couldn't risk taking my eyes off the road. Finally, I spotted a gas station up ahead, Bright lights, cameras, people, safety. I yanked the wheel and pulled in, my tires screeching. I parked right under a street light, jumped out and grabbed my phone with shaking hands. But when I turned to look at the road, the SUV was gone. Vanished, like it had never been there. I stood there, shaking, trying to catch my breath. A couple filling up their tank gave me weird looks and I forced a smile like everything was normal. But inside, I was unraveling. Because that SUV wasn't just some random driver anymore. No, this felt personal. Someone wanted me scared. Someone wanted me rattled. And the scariest part? I couldn't think of a single person in my life who would do that to me. Or at least, I thought I couldn't. When I finally got home from that gas station, my hands were still trembling. I double-checked the locks, pulled every curtain shut, and sat on the edge of my bed with my phone clutched in my hand. Part of me wanted to dial 911, but what was I going to say? "Hi, officer." A car followed me, but then it disappeared. They'd think I was crazy. So I did the next best thing. I called Mark. His voice was groggy when he answered, like I'd woken him up. "Babe, what's wrong?" I hesitated. "Mark, someone's following me. A black SUV. It was in the lot at work last night, and then it chased me all over town tonight." There was a pause. A long one. Then he laughed. "Hannah, come on. You're exhausted. You've been pulling doubles all week. Probably just some random driver you cut off without realizing." That laugh cut deeper than the fear did. I wanted comfort, reassurance, anything. Instead, I got brushed off like a paranoid child. I bit my lip hard enough to taste blood. "No, Mark, this was different. They followed me through 3 turns. Babe," he interrupted. "You're overthinking. Listen, just go to bed, okay? I'll come by tomorrow." The call ended with me staring at the ceiling in the dark, my chest tight with frustration. Why did it feel like nobody was taking me seriously? The next morning, I dragged myself to work again, pretending everything was fine, but fine ended the second I stepped into the parking lot that night. Because this time, the SUV wasn't lurking in the shadows. This time, it left a message. A strip of paper, tucked neatly under my windshield wiper. In bold black ink, "You should have stayed quiet." My knees went weak. I whipped my head around, scanning the lot, empty. My fingers shook as I grabbed the note, crumpling it in my fist. Stayed quiet about what? I hadn't done anything. I hadn't told anyone anything. I stuffed the note in my pocket, started the car, and peeled out of there like the pavement was on fire. By the time I got home, I was gasping for air. My parents were sitting in the living room, and for a moment, I thought maybe they'd finally understand. I told them everything. The SUV, the chase, the note. My mom frowned. My dad shook his head. "Sweetheart," Dad said, his voice calm like he was talking to a child. "It's probably just some dumb prank. Teenagers? Maybe. Don't let your imagination run wild." I couldn't believe it. Not them too. My chest burned with anger. A prank? You think someone trying to run me off the road is a prank? My mom put her hand on my arm. "Hannah, you've been stressed, working late, not sleeping. Maybe you should talk to someone. A counselor, maybe." The way she said it, like I was broken, made something snap inside me. I stormed upstairs without another word, clutching the note so tightly my nails dug into my palm. Because if no one else believed me, then I had to start believing myself. And that's when I made the decision that changed everything. If someone wanted me scared, they were going to get the opposite. I was done waiting to be a victim. I was going to figure out exactly who was behind that SUV and why they wanted me silenced. Even if it meant I had to do it alone. I barely slept that night. Every sound outside, every car door, every dog bark had me sitting up clutching the crumpled note like proof that I wasn't losing my mind. By sunrise, I was exhausted but more determined than ever. At work that day, I couldn't focus. Every customer's face blurred together. Every sound felt sharper, louder. My coworkers joked that I looked like I'd seen a ghost. I wanted to scream at them that I had, only mine drove a black SUV. When my shift ended, I practically sprinted to the lot, heart pounding, expecting that SUV to be there. But the space around my car was empty. Too empty. And that's when I saw it. My tires. Both slashed. Not a slow leak, not an accident. Slashed. It felt like my stomach dropped straight to the asphalt. Whoever this was, they weren't just trying to scare me anymore. They were escalating. I pulled out my phone, snapped photos, then called Mark again. When he answered, I blurted out, "My tires are slashed. This isn't random anymore. Someone is targeting me." For a moment, there was silence. Then Mark sighed. Actually sighed. "Hannah, come on. Tires get slashed all the time. Insurance will cover it." "Are you kidding me?" My voice cracked. "This is the same person who chased me last week. The same SUV. I got a note, Mark. A note." He chuckled under his breath, and the sound made my blood run cold. "Abe, you're working yourself into a frenzy. You've always had an overactive imagination." That word, always, like I was some hysterical girl crying wolf. I hung up on him. I called my parents next, desperate for someone to take me seriously, but it was the same story. My mom said, "Maybe it's someone at work you rubbed the wrong way." My dad muttered, "Don't jump to conclusions." By the time the tow truck came, I felt completely abandoned. I sat in my car that night staring at the ceiling, and that's when the thought hit me, the one that made my skin crawl. What if this wasn't random? What if the person behind this wasn't some stranger in the shadows, but someone who knew me, someone close? The next day, I started paying attention differently, watching people's eyes, their movements, listening to conversations I'd normally tune out. And that's when something happened that stopped me cold. At dinner, I went to grab Mark's phone by mistake. It buzzed on the counter right next to mine. The screen lit up, a text notification. From a contact saved only as crew. The message read, "She's still scared. Want us to push harder?" My heart nearly stopped beating. I glanced at Mark, who was pouring himself a drink, totally casual, like he wasn't hiding a grenade in his pocket. I slid the phone back where it was, forced my hands to stop shaking, and plastered on a smile. But inside, I was screaming. Because now it wasn't just paranoia. It wasn't just fear. It was betrayal. The people I loved most weren't just dismissing my fear. They might actually be the reason for it. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. That one text on Mark's phone haunted me like a siren in the night. "She's still scared. Want us to push harder?" Who the hell was crew? The next morning, while Mark showered, I slipped his phone from the nightstand. My hands shook so badly, I almost dropped it. His lock code? My birthday. The irony wasn't lost on me. He'd made me the key to my own nightmare. I opened the messages. The thread was worse than I imagined. Her face when the SUV swerved, priceless. "Make sure she doesn't quit her job. We need her working. Don't hit her. Just scare her. She'll crack soon." There were dozens of texts like that. They knew my shifts, the routes I drove, even the exact time I left work some nights. My blood ran cold. This wasn't random harassment. This was planned. I snapped photos of every message, every thread, then I deleted my history and slipped the phone back before Mark walked out. That night, I lay in bed beside him, listening to him breathe like he had nothing to hide, while my heart thudded so loudly I thought it would give me away. The next day at work, I parked closer to the building, double-checking every car in the lot. My hands were raw from gripping my pepper spray. By the end of my shift, my nerves were shot. I nearly screamed when my manager tapped my shoulder. But then, there it was. The black SUV, parked across the street, windows tinted, engine idling. Not moving, not chasing, just waiting. I pulled out my phone and snapped a photo, zooming in on the license plate. Then I ducked into my car and drove off, heart pounding, trying to look calm while every instinct screamed that I was prey being watched. That night, Mark came home late. Too late. His excuse? Helping a friend. But I saw it. The mud streaks on his boots matched the dirt lot outside my work. And then the final straw. I found another note tucked under my windshield wiper the next morning, but this one wasn't like the first. It didn't just say, "You should have stayed quiet." This one said, "Next time you won't be so lucky." I crumpled it in my fist, rage and terror flooding through me. And for the first time, I wasn't just scared. I was ready to fight back. Because if Mark thought I was going to sit quietly while he and his crew tore apart my sanity, he had no idea who he was dealing with. This wasn't going to end with me broken. This was going to end with me exposing them all. I tried to convince myself. Maybe I was overthinking. Maybe the texts meant something else. Maybe Mark was just caught up in some stupid prank with his friends. But deep down, I already knew the truth. It all snapped into focus one night, when I came home early from work. Mark didn't hear me walk in. I'd parked a few houses down just to test something, just to see if the SUV would follow. It didn't. The street was quiet. But the second I unlocked the front door, I froze. Mark's voice drifted down the hallway, muffled but sharp. He was laughing, that low, cruel laugh I'd only ever heard when he thought he was untouchable. "Yeah, she's still freaked out," he said, his tone mocking. "She jumped like a rabbit yesterday when she saw the SUV again. Don't worry, she won't quit her job. She can't. We need her checks to keep coming in." My stomach dropped. "She thinks it's just bad luck. That's the best part. She has no idea it's us." The look on her face when the car almost forced her off the road? Priceless. I couldn't breathe. My own boyfriend, the person I trusted to keep me safe, plotting my terror like it was a damn joke. I stepped back, praying the floorboards wouldn't creak. My heart was beating so hard I could taste iron in my mouth. And then, as if fate wanted me to hear every word, he added, "She's gonna fold soon. She'll hand over her savings just to make it stop. Told you this plan would work." My knees nearly buckled. My savings, my blood, sweat, and years of work, the money I'd set aside for a future, for us, or so I thought. But to him, I was just a paycheck. A pawn? I slipped into the bathroom and pressed my back against the cold tile, trying to hold myself together. Tears stung my eyes, but fury burned hotter. For the first time, the fear wasn't stronger than me. The betrayal was. I grabbed my phone with shaking hands and hit record. If Mark thought he could gaslight me into silence, he was wrong. I wasn't just going to survive this. I was going to catch him. I crept closer to the living room, careful not to make a sound. My phone captured every word, Mark bragging, his friends laughing through the speaker. And then, as if the universe wanted to twist the knife, I heard my name. "She'll never leave. Hannah's too soft, too scared. She doesn't even realize she's trapped. That's when I knew. The man I thought loved me wasn't just betraying me. He was orchestrating my nightmares. And he thought I was too weak to fight back. But I wasn't weak. Not anymore. I was done playing the victim in his game. The game was about to flip, and Mark had no idea what was coming for him. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard Mark's laughter replaying in my head like a taunt. He thought he had me figured out. Weak, scared, predictable. He was wrong. The next morning, I took the day off work, pretending I was sick. Instead, I dug through everything: bank statements, call logs, the screenshots of texts he thought I hadn't seen. Piece by piece, his scheme was right in front of me. He was bleeding me dry, one accident at a time. And I had proof now. That evening, I decided to act. When Mark came home, all cocky and casual, I greeted him like nothing had changed. I cooked dinner, poured him a drink, laughed at his dumb stories. My hands were steady, but inside, my stomach was a storm. When he finally leaned back, satisfied, I slid my phone across the table. "Press play," I said. He frowned, confused, then pressed it. His own voice filled the room, laughing about me, mocking me, plotting with his friends. For a second, his face went pale. I saw it, the flicker of panic he couldn't hide. But then, like a switch, he smirked. "You've been spying on me?" he sneered, trying to flip it. "Recording me without my permission? That's illegal, Hannah." I slammed my hand down on the table, making him jump. "Illegal? What about stalking me, nearly running me off the road, stealing my money? That's not just illegal, Mark. That's evil." For a moment, his mask cracked, his jaw tightened, his eyes cold and sharp. Then he leaned back, calm again, almost amused. "No one's going to believe you," he said softly, almost like a threat. "Your family, they think you're paranoid. The cops? Please. You've got some half-baked recording and a bunch of conspiracy theories. I'm the victim here, living with a crazy girlfriend who spies on me." Gaslighting. Like clockwork. I felt rage boil inside me, but I forced myself to keep cool. "You know what's funny, Mark? I'm not the only one who doesn't believe you anymore." His brow furrowed. "What the hell does that mean?" I pulled out a second phone, my backup, and played a video from the parking lot at work. Security camera footage, clear as day. That dark SUV circling, idling, headlights flashing, Mark's friend stepping out, mask pulled up, but his car clearly visible. Mark's smirk vanished. "You're done," I whispered, leaning in. "I'm not scared of you anymore, and I'm not alone." That was when his chair screeched back. His face twisted with fury. He slammed his hand on the table, so hard the glass rattled. "You don't know what you've started, Hannah," he snarled. "You think this is a game? You think you can take me down? You'll regret this." My heart was pounding, but I didn't flinch. I stood, grabbed my keys, and walked straight past him. Because for the first time in weeks, I wasn't running scared. I was walking into war. And Mark had no idea I'd already chosen the battlefield. I wish I could tell you that after confronting Mark, things calmed down, that he backed off, ashamed, exposed, beaten, but monsters don't retreat when cornered. They attack. The days after our showdown, the silence was worse than his anger. He barely spoke to me, but his eyes, they said everything. Cold, calculating, waiting. Then, one night, it happened. I was driving home from my late shift, my mind heavy, headlights cutting through the empty road. That's when I saw it in my rearview mirror, those same blinding headlights I'd learned to dread. A dark SUV. It closed in fast, too fast. My chest tightened. My palms went clammy on the wheel. "No, not again," I whispered, my breath fogging the glass. But it was happening again. The SUV swerved, nudging close, its grille flashing in my rearview like some predator baring its teeth. My heart thundered so hard I swore it shook the steering wheel. I hit the gas, my car roaring forward. The SUV followed, matching my every move. Mile after mile, the chase grew more brutal. They weren't just following this time, they were hunting. I swerved onto a side road, hoping to lose them. Trees blurred past in the dark, branches clawing at the sky, but the SUV stayed with me, closer now, forcing me toward the guardrail. Then I realized where the road ended. The bridge. And beyond it, black water glinting like teeth under the moonlight. "No, no, no," I muttered, white-knuckled, adrenaline flooding my veins. The SUV rammed me, metal screamed against metal. My car jolted sideways, tires screeching. I tried to straighten out, but they hit me again, harder. The world spun. My car skidded, fishtailed, and smashed into the guardrail. The impact sent a shudder through my entire body. The railing groaned, bent, then gave way. And just like that, I was airborne. The crash into the water was like being punched by the earth itself. Freezing waves swallowed the car instantly, surging up the windows, pressing against the glass with a force that stole my breath. I clawed at my seatbelt, but it jammed. Panic clawed harder. Water gushed in through the cracks, rising fast, soaking my clothes, numbing my skin. This was it. This was how I was going to die. My lungs screamed for air, my chest burning like fire. Black dots speckled my vision. In those seconds, I thought about everything. My parents dismissing me, Mark's smirk, the friends who never believed me. And then, something inside me snapped. No, I growled through clenched teeth. Not like this. I shoved against the seatbelt, twisting, jerking, until finally it released with a sharp click. My fingers shook as I rolled down the window with every ounce of strength. Water slammed in, surging over me, dragging me under. I pushed, kicked, fought like hell, and somehow I broke free. Cold air hit my face as I broke the surface, gasping, coughing, clawing my way toward the shore. Behind me, my car sank into the black water, disappearing into the depths. On the bridge above, I swore I saw figures leaning out of the SUV, watching, waiting. Then they drove off. They thought I was dead, but they were wrong. And as I dragged myself onto the muddy bank, soaked, shivering, broken but alive, one thought burned hotter than the fear. If they wanted to kill me, they should have finished the job. Because now, I wasn't just scared, I was furious. When I crawled out of that river, drenched and freezing, I knew two things: they thought I was dead, and that was my only advantage. For the first time, I had space to breathe. No one expected me to fight back, but I wasn't going to waste it. I stumbled into a roadside diner that night, shaking, mud-streaked, my hair plastered to my face. The waitress's eyes widened, but before she could ask, I begged for the payphone and back. My cell phone was gone, sunk with my car. But that didn't matter. I didn't want them to trace me anyway. I dialed the one person I swore I'd never lean on again. Ethan. My voice cracked when he answered. There was silence, then a sharp inhale. Hannah? Jesus Christ, I thought everyone thought you were gone. Ethan was my old coworker, someone who'd believed me when no one else did. He'd warned me about Mark, told me to leave months before. I never listened. I need your help, I said, and I don't have much time. Within an hour, he was there, peeling into the lot in his beat-up truck. He took one look at me, bruised, cut, shivering, and didn't ask questions. He just wrapped me in a blanket and drove. But my mind wasn't on safety, it was on strategy. I told him everything: the SUV, the crash, the faces watching from above. And when I said the words, "Mark wants me gone," Ethan didn't flinch, he just tightened his grip on the wheel. Then let's make sure you don't go down alone, he muttered. That night, we planned. We mapped out every connection Mark had: his parents' shady finances, the fake inheritance accounts, the offshore wires Ethan had discovered at work before quitting. Ethan had been tracking them, quietly, collecting screenshots and bank records. He hadn't told me before because he thought I'd never leave Mark. But now? Now we had proof. The problem? Proof doesn't mean much if no one listens. And Mark had the police, the community, even his church in his pocket. So we had to be smarter. We had to trap him. The plan was simple: bait him into meeting me, record everything, and use his own arrogance against him. But to do that, I had to let him believe I was still his pawn. The next day, I resurfaced. I sent him a text from a burner phone Ethan gave me: "We need to talk alone." Almost instantly, the typing bubbles popped up, then his reply: "You're alive? Where are you?" I stared at those words, my pulse pounding. His shock was almost palpable. "I'll tell you if you come alone." I typed back: "No family, just you, tonight." Minutes stretched into hours, but eventually he agreed. Ethan and I chose the meeting spot carefully: an abandoned mill just outside town, cameras hidden, microphones ready. As night fell, the air felt electric, like the universe knew something was about to break. I waited in the shadows, my nerves thrumming, every creak of the building like a gunshot. Then headlights cut through the dark. Mark stepped out of the car, immaculate as ever, suit crisp, shoes polished, like he wasn't a man who just tried to drown me. His smile was sharp, cruel. "Baby," he said, spreading his arms, "you gave me quite the scare." And in that moment, I didn't see the charming man I once fell for. I saw the predator, unmasked. But he didn't know the cameras were rolling. He didn't know every word was being recorded. I just had to keep him talking. And if he caught on before Ethan could send the feed live, well, then it would be me against a monster in the dark. Mark's footsteps echoed against the cracked concrete as he walked toward me. His cologne hit before he did, sharp and suffocating. "You look rough," he smirked, circling me like a wolf. "Guess bridges aren't your strong suit, but you're stubborn. I'll give you that." I swallowed the bile rising in my throat and forced myself to look him dead in the eye. "Why, Mark? Was scaring me not enough? You wanted me gone that badly?" He chuckled low. "Gone, sweetheart. You were supposed to disappear months ago. Your savings, your insurance, it was all lined up. But no, you had to fight. You had to make this harder than it needed to be." Every word was a confession. Every boast, another nail in his coffin. I tilted my head, feigning confusion. "So the SUV, the tires, that wasn't random?" He laughed outright this time. "God, you're still so naive. Who do you think paid them? My family? Please? They wouldn't lift a finger without me pulling the strings. You were never paranoid, Hannah. You were just out of your league." My heart pounded. He was giving me everything, handing me the truth like it was a prize. Why tell me now? I whispered. Because, he said, stepping close enough that I could see the hunger in his eyes, no one will ever believe you, not after I'm finished. And that's when Ethan's voice cut through the night. Oh, I think they'll believe her just fine. Mark froze. His head snapped toward the shadows as Ethan stepped out, holding a small device, the live transmitter linked straight to a secure server. Mark's face drained of color. What the hell is this? Your confession, I said softly. Broadcasted, recorded, shared. For a split second, panic flickered in his eyes. Then rage took over. He lunged at me faster than I expected, his hand clamped around my throat, slamming me against the wall. You think you've won? He hissed, his breath hot on my face. You'll leave in a body bag before they ever touch me. I clawed at his grip, vision blurring, but Ethan surged forward, tackling him to the ground. They struggled, fists flying, the sound of bone against concrete reverberating through the mill. Mark was strong, too strong. He shoved Ethan off, reached for a broken pipe, and raised it high. Instinct roared inside me. I grabbed the only thing within reach, a rusted wrench, and swung. It connected with his arm, the pipe clattering to the floor. Mark howled, staggering back. Blue and red lights flooded the broken windows. Sirens wailed closer, louder, until the entire mill glowed like a stage. Mark turned, fury etched across his face, but it was too late. Officers stormed in, weapons drawn, shouting commands. Hands on your head, now. Mark froze, chest heaving, eyes darting between me, Ethan, and the cops. He knew it was over. Slowly, with venom dripping from every glare, he raised his hands. As they cuffed him, he spat one last threat at me. This isn't over, Hannah. You'll regret this. I stood tall, bruised and trembling but unbroken. No, Mark. The only thing I regret is ever letting you near me. The officers led him away, his shouts fading into the night. When it was finally quiet, Ethan placed a steady hand on my shoulder. You did it. I let out a shaky laugh, tears spilling down my cheeks. No, we did it. And this time they can't silence me. Later, when I stood before the detectives, handing over every piece of evidence, his financial schemes, his ties to his family's fraud, the full recording of his confession, I realized something. The closest I ever came to losing my life wasn't the SUV or the bridge. It was all the nights I let someone else convince me I was crazy, that I was nothing, that I should stay quiet. Never again. And when I finally walked out into the cool night air, free for the first time in years, I felt it deep in my bones. This was just the beginning of my story.